SZA's genre-bending, career-defining album thus far, SOS and LANA, the SOS Deluxe, just might be her last studio album. No, she hasn't blatantly said this anywhere that I'm aware of, but she has alluded to it by saying that she doesn't have any more goals because everything she could ever want or achieve with her art, she's already attained. She said on the Apple Music interview, "I don't have any more goals." And that sounds terrible, but career-wise, it's just like, I keep saying that. Nobody believes me, but it's just like, you don't understand what? These are my goals. I've gone platinum. I didn't think I would ever go platinum. I sold a bunch of records. I got to meet Stevie Wonder. I got to meet Beyonce and work with her. I got to meet Frank Ocean. My mom came and my dad came to all of these cool countries to see me perform. I've had sold out shows. I've got to headline a festival. Like, what else do I want? I've been nominated for Grammys. I won a Grammy. I'm done. For me, personally. In addition to that, SZA has spoken about being shy and having anxiety, which she's been working through, and also hating being famous because it's too much exposure. This could perhaps explain why she's been known to be quite contradictory in the past, or why she went on Hot Ones with prosthetic bug eyes on for the duration of the interview, which was a bold move, I'll give her that, but I found it incredibly distracting. But the prosthetic bug eyes stunt, aside from it being a promotion for her then upcoming album LANA, which built up anticipation and got people talking, I'm going to assume it was equally her version of wearing sunglasses. It's not uncommon for celebrities to wear sunglasses during interviews with journalists who are generally notorious for asking invasive questions about their private lives, and the glasses serve as a form of protection since the eyes are the windows to the soul. Though Sean, the host of Hot Ones, rarely crosses that line in interviews I have watched. If SOS does end up truly being SZA's last studio album ever, or the last one for 10 years, it would make sense because not only did she address her past relationships, the public/internet culture, being codependent, and her toxic thoughts about herself, or in the aftermath of a breakup in this project, she also explored lots of genres. She did some rapping on a few tracks like Smoking on My X-Pac and SOS, which I shall discuss further in a little bit. She experimented with pop rock in F2F, inspired by Blink-182 and Good Charlotte, she said in an interview. There are also a couple of country adjacent/indie songs as well, like Nobody Gets Me. Basically, a mix of quote-unquote radio music and alternative ethereal music. And then, she really piled it on, giving us 23 whole tracks and an additional 18 on LANA. Most albums these days are between 10 to 16 tracks, with 3 to 5 additional ones for the deluxe. But SZA isn't like most of her peers in the sense that she says she didn't grow up with the intention of becoming a pop star. She became an artist to prove a point to her parents and her ex-fiancé whom she was with for 10 years. Becoming a chart-topping pop star was also serendipitous for SZA, as she says she didn't grow up listening to popular music. She attended college for a bit and then dropped out, which caused some tension with her parents. She didn't play any musical instruments or sing in church growing up, didn't know much about song structure and music theory. Ironically, these are the very things that make her stand out amongst her peers because she's uninhibited by rules. I felt like with these projects, SOS and LANA, SZA was saying to her listeners, "It's been 5.5 years, here y'all go. If I dip out for another 10 years, y'all got 40 plus solid tracks from me." Sounds like something she would say. She made that 5-year break away from music, whether intentional or not, she made it count. giving us great music and emotions. The album art of SOS alone draws you in as it bears a striking resemblance to this photo of Princess Diana. There are parallels between both individuals. They are both public figures who have spoken openly about feeling alone despite their fame, and the picture very much captures that. For SZA, this cover art was perfect because she's also very much into astrology and is a Scorpio, which is a water sign. Princess Diana was a water sign as well, but a Cancer. Serendipity. I won't be going through the albums track by track, otherwise we'll be here until tomorrow. I'll just be discussing some standouts. So without further ado, let's begin with SOS, the title track. This is a sample of a gospel song by the Gabrielle Hardman delegation called Until I Found the Lord, which strikes me as a song that would be played at a funeral because of how somber it sounds. And then SZA does this angry, aggressive rap verse over it, letting us know this is about to be a wild ride through her mind, and preceding the track with SOS in Morse code. The brilliance of it all. SZA strikes me as someone who is very in touch with her mortality, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm sure there's another plane or dimension better than the one we are currently experiencing. I watched her Jimmy Kimmel interview and she spoke about loving having her parents on tour with her and how it makes her sad because she realizes she has a limited amount of summers left with them. And she talked about researching predators of specific locations she's going on vacation to. Jimmy even remarked about how morbid that sounded. And so this opening track was very appropriate, as the next track, Kill Bill, was about getting revenge on her ex by offing him. Side note, SOS and LANA, which I'm assuming is short for Solana, her actual name, are the R&B and hip-hop equivalent of Taylor's The Tortured Poets department. They are both about the same length and are very raw about feelings of failed relationships, public opinion, and toxic self-perceptions. I think it'll be fun to do a compare and contrast of both albums. Let me know in the comments if that's something you would like to see. Back to Kill Bill. This was one of the songs SZA said she put the least amount of effort into, and it ended up resonating with listeners. It was stream of consciousness writing. In fact, a lot of her songs sound like she's singing them in a stream of consciousness because I always can't predict where she's going with the melody, but it works. Being so angry that you contemplate offing your ex is nasty work. The way she literally ripped that man's heart out of his chest, as though following through with the note he gave her in the beginning of the video before the shootout, was very much giving Akasha in Queen of the Damned. That's cold. I can't relate to feeling that way about anyone I used to talk to, which aren't that many. Until very recently, that sort of rage was reserved for some of my former coworkers from my most recent job. You know the types. The ones who make the job their whole life and personality and be mad when you don't feel the same way. And because of that, they try tirelessly to get you in trouble. Anyway, the melody of the song at the beginning is very off-putting, circus-like, and reminds me of wind-up, creepy-looking life-size dolls. Appropriate. Also, getting Vivica to be in the video, even if it was for 5 seconds, was iconic, as she was in the original Kill Bill. Nobody gets me. Looks like the music video was filmed in New York. It's in black and white, and she referenced Jay-Z in the lyrics. I wonder if that was a nod to Empire State of Mind. But then the song sounds similar to Mazzy Star's Fade Into You. I like that juxtaposition. She's referencing without being too on the nose. Ghost in the Machine was too real. Typical internet culture. Everyone has an opinion, and people are just very unkind online. And it's usually the people without any profile pictures making the most vile comments. I wonder if this song had anything to do with the back and forth she had with a fan some time ago. As for AI, it really does feel like a ghost in a machine. Much like the internet, AI can be useful, but in the wrong hands can be very problematic. The lyrics of this song reminds me of Taylor's New Romantics, which was actually my favorite track on 1989. Of course, the context of both songs are different, but it's a reflection of society at large. Conceited. She's addressing the rumors about plastic surgery head on and is so self aware that her physical upgrade, if you will certainly help with upwards mobility. She's equally addressing people who thought she was one and done after Control. Special. Complete opposite of conceited. I like that she addressed body image issues and beauty standards, putting it in a context of a man, because the truth is, men created this beauty standard, particularly in Western society, and we participate in it, either to social climb or for basic respect. People are nicer to attractive people, and more opportunities are afforded attractive people, and that's honestly really sick. I am not at all saying attractive people aren't deserving. What I'm saying is that being a human should be enough. Good days. Again, the juxtaposition of having a good mental day, which equals being present, which equals a regulated nervous system, and then very quickly regressing into her old anxious self, in short, because our brains and minds are built for survival. Our brains want to keep us safe, which means comfort and familiarity. This is too deep. If I had listened to this song a couple of years back when this initially came out, I wouldn't have gotten it. SZA has truly been doing the work based on this record. F2F. Some pop rock going on here. I like it, but SZA said this is a song she would do over and simplify the production if she could re-record it because it was bugging her. Now we move on to LANA, but first, what's up beautiful people and welcome back to my channel. My name is Yaira, better known as simply Yaya. I am proudly African, from Cameroon, born and bred. I worked for Disney for the better half of my young adult life and more recently, Whole Foods. I'm always working on leveling and glowing up, and I have a Master of Science in Journalism, which informs how I view and discuss some aspects of pop culture on this channel. And for early access to all of my upcoming videos, which you'll get to see 48 hours before everyone else, you can join my membership here on YouTube at $4.99 a month, or my Patreon at $10 a month. You also get bonus content and other perks like me going live once a week. The album cover art of LANA is her as a praying mantis, I believe? Or is it an ant? Well, it's a bug, and she says she likes collecting bugs as a hobby. Also, seeing a mantis symbolizes stillness, patience, and mindfulness, which seems to be where SZA was at when she made this LANA. Complete opposite of SOS. Let's discuss a couple of tracks. 30 for 30 is a sample of Rich Boy's Throw Some D's. Love Me for Me. Earthy and ethereal. This is partly about her ex-fiancé. In the Apple Music podcast, she talked about how her ex-fiancé was 8 years her senior, was a fashion designer, and used to pay for practically everything for her. And she became a pop star to prove to him that she can stand on her own, even though she was a college dropout who bartended at the strip club. There are also themes about her mortality in this one as well. This song sounds like a Chloe and Halle joint. I love. Kitchen. A sample of the Isley Brothers' Voyage to Atlantis. Another Life starts off sounding like 80s synth pop, almost reminds me of Selena Gomez's Sunset Boulevard, but then it transitions to sounding very 1960s girl group R&B, but also sounds very in vogue. Scorsese Baby Daddy reminds me of Tate McRae's We're Not Alike. And finally, Saturn, which feels like the sister song to Good Days. Honestly, No More Hiding, Good Days, and Saturn all have that floating above the clouds feeling. And PSA too. Overall thoughts on these projects. They are very dynamic. I really appreciate the variety. There's something for everyone on here, I would say. One thing is absolutely certain. No one can put SZA in a box. The first time I encountered her energy was on a Rihanna track, Consideration, the first track on Anti, Rihanna's 8th and most likely final album. And my reaction to SZA's voice and energy was the same as when I first heard Cynthia Erivo sing in Bad Times at the El Royale. Who is this and why haven't I ever heard of her? So the success of these albums is not at all surprising. But back to my thoughts on SOS. The beats go hard on SOS, but I can't relate to some of the songs. I get that this was how she was feeling about a variety of things, including heartbreak and self-doubt from old relationships. And writing these songs was a form of processing and releasing that energy. But I'm too healed for some of this. No offense or disrespect. SZA has even said she doesn't feel connected to SOS any longer and doesn't listen to it unless she has to perform it. And her raw honesty on this album, I'm sure, countered all those allegations or accusations of her supposedly being a liar. Not to defend her because I don't know her, but I think we all tell white lies every now and then for different reasons. The whole thing about her being a liar was blown way out of proportion. That being said, my personal favorites in order are Good Days, Used, Kill Bill, SOS, Shirt, Ghost in the Machine, Conceited, and Special. As for LANA, the messaging was more my speed, but the songs in general were too slow for me, but I did enjoy. I'm just not an R&B girly in general. I have to be in a specific mood for R&B or R&B adjacent. I'm more of a pop and hip-hop girly. Anything to get me to move. But those who are R&B fanatics will definitely appreciate this deluxe, even though there are a couple of songs on there that won't be classified as R&B, such as Scorsese Baby Daddy, one of 5 of my favorites on this one. The other favorites are Saturn, Crybaby, No More Hiding, and Love Me for Me. There are also 4 additional tracks she dropped about 6 months ago: Johnny, Take You Down, PSA, and Open Arms without the feature. I was never crazy about Open Arms. Fight me. It's a great song, but like I said, too slow for my liking. And all the others are great as well, but I'm not into them. I can appreciate good songs without being attached to them. I don't think SZA can make a bad song. She literally said in PSA that she doesn't want to be called anything but number one. I won't rate the albums. There's no need. Combined, both albums have already received 4 Grammys, and SOS spent multiple weeks at number 1 on the Billboard 200 chart and has since broken the all-time record for longest running number 1 album on the top R&B/hip hop album chart, surpassing Michael Jackson's Thriller. Just let that marinate. Also, it has spent over 100 weeks in the top 10 of the Billboard 200. Enough said. Side note, I won't be surprised if SZA winds up in Kenya or somewhere on a farm like Khalees. SZA did mention in the She MD podcast that agriculture feels like the logical next step for her. And I'm paraphrasing, but she did mention agriculture and she loves nature. So while new music is always nice, I'm anticipating not hearing from her for a while after a tour. Sis gotta live her life outside of music. That's all I got for this episode. I have a Sabrina Carpenter reaction video coming up next, and after that, a bit of a vibe shift for the fall. Again, if you like Taylor Swift and or music within the last 20 to 25 years with black and white album cover art, you're gonna love what I have coming up. So definitely subscribe and hit that notification bell. I am so excited for this new series and watch this video next.